Christopher Burkhardt, and we're back with another episode of Honky Tonk Heroes. This is where we explore how musical legends have influenced today's active artists. As we roll down that hillbilly highway today, we're joined by artists from England, Nashville, and California. And we have a video host who specializes in both kinds of music. You know, country and western. Don Sticksel is also known as DJ Salty Cracker and is the host of the Country Bunker on Gimme Country. Don is famous for his Both Kinds of Music show, and he's been spotlighting new country music for 10 years now, from both emerging and established artists of the 21st century. Please give a warm Eclectic American Roots welcome to our video host, a Metropolitan nominee for DJ of the Year, Don Sticksel.
Thank you, Christopher, for that introduction. And thank you for joining us. This is pre-pandemic Don. Oh, what happened? What happens when you get put inside for 14 months, 15 months? All this. Welcome to the show, friends. Welcome to our guests that we have on the show today. Jerry Zinn, Grace Adele, Mitch Polzak, Willie Briggs, Michael Ubaldini, and Kris Casello on this episode of Eclectic American Roots, Honky Tonk Heroes Volume 6, featuring the life and times of Lefty Frizzell. Who am I? I'm your host. I'm Don Sticksel, a.k.a. DJ Salty Cracker, from the show The Country Bunker. What are we going to do today? We are going to have this fabulous show that Christopher has put together. And I am going to talk about some music. I've pulled records from what I've called the sounds of the country underground. And we'll talk about some of the guests that we have today. Thanks for joining us here on the program. And I will turn it back over to Kris to introduce our first artist.
Englishman Willie Briggs started playing guitar at 24 years old and then went on to learn the lap steel. His first band was a vintage hillbilly outfit based around the Maddox Brothers and Rose. It was called the Tennessee Rhythm Riders. They played the very first Viva Las Vegas Weekender in 1997. Today, Willie and his wife Lisa have bands named the Blackwater Valley Boys, the Hot House Combo, and the Radio Ramblers. His many bands play hot western swing, primitive rockabilly, and 1930s jazz. Here he is, direct from England, Willie Briggs.
So I discovered the Delmar Brothers when I was about 18 years old. I'd already been listening to and discovering rockabilly music since the age of 14, the likes of Elvis and Carl Perkins and Charlie Feathers. And I realized that I really wanted to know the music before that. I kind of wanted to know how they got to that point. And of course they were listening to a lot of blues and old country music or hillbilly music. And I kind of went to the record store and thought, I need to know a bit more about this music. I really like it, but I didn't really know who the main artists were. I didn't really know too much about it. I'd been engrossed in rockabilly at the time, and still am. And one of the, just by pure luck, one of the first albums that I pulled out was this big yellow album of the Delmar Brothers with Wayne Rainey on harmonica. And I took that home, and it was all of the King recordings from the late 40s, mid-40s to the early 50s, the whole kind of boogie craze, the country boogie craze, and I loved it. And then I kind of from there went back to their earlier stuff, and I particularly loved Brown's Ferry Blues. It's still one of my favourite songs from them. If you don't know much about the Delmar Brothers, well, one, you can read it in this great book here, which I bought in Nashville, actually, many moons ago. It's written actually by Alton Delmar before he died in 1964, so it's a lot of fresh memories from that time. I believe it was Alton that played the tenor guitar, the 4-string tenor, and Rabin played the standard guitar. What I liked about their harmonies was that I have tried to emulate their harmonies, either just me on my own trying to overdub the harmonies or with other singers. And it's a bit like the Everly Brothers. They're really hard to get right. I don't know why. They've just got this brotherly thing that's just so connected. And I I love their harmonies. They're quite strange sometimes, and I just can't work out who's doing what. Yeah, so that is my Honky Tonk Heroes, the Delmar Brothers, and I can highly recommend listening to their early stuff right through to their boogie tunes.
Holla, public hand his toes, man his feet wherever he goes. Law, got them Brownsberry blues. Holla, public and do his stuff. Trouble with him, he's been too rough. Law, got them Brownsberry blues. That the other was a man, Lord, got them Brownsberry blues. Two old maids don't like their style, try to be lucky, you gotta smile, Lord, got them Brownsberry blues. Lord, got them Brownsberry blues. Holla, public and do his stuff. Trouble with him, he's been too rough. Lord, got them Brownsberry blues. Yeah. Two old maids sitting in the sand, each one wishing that the other was a man. Lord, got them Brownsberry blues. Two old maids done lost their style. You wanna be lucky, you gotta smile. Lord, got them Brownsberry blues. Take me home.
In 2003, our next artist formed a band in Southern California named West of Texas to play real country music. He's the singer, songwriter, and bandleader whose debut album, Heartache, Hangovers, and Honky Tonks, was released in 2010. He only recently was able to finish the album. The end result is a testament to the strength of country music, and it is one of the best albums in the honky tonk genre I have heard lately. Please welcome Jerry Zinn of West of Texas. In 2003, our next artist formed a band in Southern California named West of Texas to play real country music. He's the singer, songwriter, and bandleader whose debut album, Heartache, Hangovers, and Honky Tonks, was released in 2010. He only recently was able to finish the album. The end result is a testament to the strength of country music, and it is one of the best albums in the honky tonk genre I have heard lately. Please welcome Jerry Zinn of West of Texas.
Thanks, Kris, for having me. My honky tonk hero is Johnny Bush. If you're asking yourself who is Johnny Bush, well, he's the one that wrote one of Willie Nelson's biggest hits, Whiskey River. Johnny was born in Houston, February 17th, 1935. He got to start playing drums with Willie Nelson in Texas dance halls and honky tonks before anybody knew who Willie Nelson was. In 1963, Willie Nelson was in Ray Price's band, and Ray needed a drummer, so Willie suggested Johnny. Soon after that, Johnny was fired for not being able to play a shuffle beat. He eventually made it back into the band as the opener, where he would play guitar, sing his own songs, and introduce Ray to the stage. In 1967, with the help of Willie Nelson, Stop Records released A Sound of a Heartache. Releasing 4 albums on Stop Records, he then signed to RCA, releasing 3 more albums. During his time with RCA, he started having vocal problems, and in 1974, RCA dropped him. When I started my band, West of Texas, my first lead guitar player was from Texas, and he gave me a mixed CD with the song Green Snakes on the Ceiling from his album Here Comes the World Again. One for fooling us do is what I heard the bartender say. Never thought my whole life would ever turn out this way. The green snakes on the ceiling, walking walls I can see. Won't the fooling us do, and on this stool sits this fool me. Won't the fooling us do, want a drink to a hand. No thread for your needle, no ma'am, I ain't seen your man. Anything you want to tell me, I got no time for. Just order your drink and make room for more. One fooling us do is what I heard the bartender say. Never thought my whole life would ever turn out this way. The green snakes on the ceiling, walking walls I can see. Won't a fool in a stool, and on this stool sits this fool me. One fool in a stool, and on this stool sits this fool me. You came to me when no one else would, and just a taste of my lips cures my every pain. And when that last drop of amber waves comes crashing down on me, well, I find myself in a bliss I've never known. It was a bottle's kiss that would leave me alone. There was a time when I didn't touch the stuff, and that's when that whiskey river ran dry. Well, I tried so many drinks, and just to think about what I'd miss without Jim and Jack and Jameson. You were the best thing for my whiskey life. So hard until I gave in. It was the devil's horns and perhaps his grin. And when he laid his hands upon my head and my lips hit that glass of sin, well, I found myself in a bliss I've never known. It was a bottle's kiss that wouldn't leave me alone. There was a time when I didn't touch the stuff, and that's when that whiskey river ran dry. Well, I tried so many drinks.
Let's get back to our video host now for another segment of great honky-tonk music, Don Sticksel.
Welcome back, and I'm sure that you will see more live stuff from Kris and Campus Jack's stellar shows in the weeks to come. But Jerry, his band West of Texas, I have the album right here. Excuse the glare. The album's called Heartache, Hangovers, and Honky Tonks, and it is 13 excellent songs. You know, when I play a majority of the album on my show, The Country Bunker, it's a good one. It's a good record. And it almost didn't happen. Jerry was sick. He recorded the album, gosh, I think he said 8 years ago or something like that. Had some health issues, and then it wasn't until last year that he laid the vocals down. And now he's got this rave reviews, critical acclaim on this record, to the extent he is the cover artist on this new magazine called Honky Tonk Times, of which I'm a writer. Why don't we take a break, and we will go back to music and I'll give it to Kris and let him take it away.
Our next guest is a folk rocker dubbed the Rock and Roll Poet, an outlaw folk and rock singer, songwriter. This talented entertainer overcame death more than once. Doctors said he'd never play music or walk again. He even collapsed and was dying right on stage, only to rise up and survive. He has a perspective other songwriters just cannot achieve. LA Times says he is better than Bruce Springsteen at probing the national soul. His new album, Music Notes from the Underground, is filled with serious songs that don't pussyfoot around. Please welcome a true American music outlaw and honky tonk artist, Michael Ubaldini.
Hi gang, Michael Ubaldini here. Glad to be part of this Honky Tonk Heroes show, this series, with all these great artists, these great performers and singer-songwriters. And I want to thank Christopher for having me be part of it. My Honky Tonk hero is Kris Kristofferson, and he's one of my all-time favorite songwriters. I've always migrated to the troubadour, singer-songwriter, lone guy with an acoustic guitar, because that's what I do. It's just something that I've always migrated to. Kris, you know, you hear a lot of stories about people taking on the Nashville establishment, and it's like a marketing tool today, but Kris Kristofferson really did take on Nashville. He was like nothing Nashville had ever seen, with his poetic, literary style lyrics set to music, and could still be played in a honky tonk or in a folk club, you know. So anyways, he's from Brownsville, Texas. He was born there, and he was a military kid, settled in San Mateo, California. He ended up joining the military, became a helicopter pilot, and actually became a lieutenant and a captain. And he had a little band in the army, and he actually pursued a music career over in England under the name Kris Carson, and his records didn't do well. And he actually turned down a job at West Point as a teacher, and his parents disowned him for it. Anyway, so his first job, he went to Nashville. He was sweeping floors at Columbia Records, and he ran into June Carter Cash there, and gave her a tape to give to Johnny Cash. And Johnny never listened to it. So the story goes, Kris flew his helicopter into Johnny's property, on his property, and the folklore is he had a beer in one hand and his songs in the other. But the truth is he just flew in there, and Johnny wasn't around, according to Kris. And Johnny eventually did listen to his song Sunday morning coming down and wound up recording it. And before Kris even had a deal, he had people like Dave Dudley, Jerry Lee Lewis, Farron Young singing his songs and recording them, Roger Miller. And of course Janice Joplin recorded his song Me and Bobby McGee later on, and was released after she died, which made Kris a household name. His first album that came out was one of my all-time favorites. It's just called Kristofferson. It was on Monument Records. I have it right here. And it didn't do well. It didn't sell. But the songs are classics as we now know them. And once Janice's version of Bobby McGee, you know, bolted to #1, Kris became a household name and put out many, many great albums as we know. You know, Silver Tongue Devil and things like that. And he became an actor. He did some acting. He was in Alice Doesn't Live Here Anymore. Won an Oscar for A Star Is Born. It actually sort of took away a little bit for modern listeners. They just think of Kris as an actor sometimes, but they need to go back and look at his backlog of great music. And in the 80s, he continued with the Highwaymen with Willie Nelson, Waylon Jennings, and Johnny Cash. And in 2009, he even put an album out called Closer to the Bone, and which is a great record. He's now retired, of course, after a lot of health issues and stuff, but he's my honky tonk hero. In fact, when I was living in Austin, I actually lived in the house. They call it the Janice Joplin house in Austin, and Janice lived there, Kris lived there, a bunch of musicians and hangers-on, and I lived there and even wrote some of my songs up on that balcony. So every time I get out to Austin, I got to go check the house out, you know, and just look at it, you know. And that's a great little tie-in, link in the chain, if you will. And I actually saw Kris perform at the Crazy Horse, the original Crazy Horse, and got to meet him, shake his hand and stuff. Nice guy. So Kris is my honky tonk hero, Kris Kristofferson, and I'm going to sing a song of his for you right now. I woke up Sunday morning with no way to hold my head that didn't hurt. And the beer I had for breakfast wasn't bad, so I had one more for dessert. Then I fumbled through my closet for my clothes and found my cleanest, dirty shirt. I washed my face and combed my hair, stumbled down the stairs to greet the day. I smoked my brain the night before on cigarettes and songs that I'd been picking. I lit my first and watched a small kid cussing at the can he was kicking. Then I crossed the empty streets and caught the Sunday smell of someone frying chicken. And it took me back to something, somewhere, somehow I lost along the way. On the Sunday morning sidewalk, wishing, Lord, that I was stoned. 'Cause there's something in a Sunday that makes a body feel alone. And there's nothing short of dying half as lonesome as the sound on the sleeping city sidewalk. Sunday morning coming down. Park I saw a daddy with a laughing little girl who he was swinging. And I stopped beside a Sunday school and listened to the song they were singing. Then I turned and headed home, heard a faraway lonesome bell ringing. And it echoed through the canyon like my disappearing dreams of yesterday. On the Sunday morning sidewalks, wishing, Lord, that I was stoned. Oh, there's something in a Sunday that makes a body feel alone. There ain't nothing short of dying half as lonesome as the sound on the sleeping city sidewalks. Sunday morning coming down. Do, 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 do.
Leading the pack of a new wave of artists revitalizing good old Western swing music, our next guest is herself a Western swing sensation. With a new star-studded record, Her performance duo, The Farmer and Adele, are a 1-2 punch of classic meets modern. The Farmer and Adele also host their own daily radio show, On the Trail with Farmer and Adele. And recently, they won both the Ameripolitan Award for Western Swing Group and for Western Swing Female. Today, bringing you the high lonesome sounds of cowgirl swing from Nashville, Tennessee, here's the notoriously well-dressed Grace Adele.
Howdy, I'm Grace Adele from the Farmer and Adele. Yip, 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 yip. Excited to be here for Honky Tonk Heroes, and I'd like to tell you my favorite honky tonk hero, Miss Patsy Cline. That's right. Oh, I love Patsy Cline's voice. Who doesn't? As a little girl, I listened to Patsy Cline all the time. My mom had a greatest hits record, and I just fell in love with all the songs. They always picked the best songs for her. Willie Nelson wrote Crazy. Floyd Tillman wrote songs for Patsy Cline. Some of my favorite songwriters. And she always had the best musicians surrounding her. Hank Garland played guitar on so many recordings. And she just, her voice was just so, it was like silk. And it was demanding. And her phrasing just, you know, she really knew how to tell a story with the lyrics in a song. I had an amazing experience happen. I'm out of Nashville, Tennessee, and I took a tour of the Kwanzaa Hut, which is a recording studio that Patsy Cline recorded Crazy and so many of her other hits. And we're in the beautiful studio. Lou Bradley was giving the tour, and he was the last recording engineer of the Kwanzaa Hut. So he had all kinds of stories, and he was telling us about, you know, the time when Patsy Cline recorded Crazy, and they have the spot in the studio marked exactly where she was standing. So I happened to have my guitar that day, and a friend told Lou Bradley that I actually sing that song. So they asked me to stand on that spot and sing Crazy. And honestly, it was one of the craziest experiences I've ever had. So I did it, and it was amazing. I looked around, I took it all in, and imagined her actually at that recording session. You know, I bet it didn't even take very many takes to even get the perfection of that song. So I did my very best and enjoyed the experience of it. I think every hair on my arms was standing up, and I had so many goosebumps. But it was so amazing, and something I'll never ever forget. She's definitely one of my honky tonk heroes and a favorite. She's an icon, and she'll be known forever, I think. So I'm gonna share a video of one of my favorite songs that I learned off of that greatest hits record. I always thought as a little girl, oh, I'd love to be able to play and sing this song. And the song is Heartaches. And here I am with the Farmer and Adele performing Heartaches, and I hope you enjoy it. And enjoy the rest of this show for Honky Tonk Heroes. Yip, 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 yip.
Heartaches, heartaches, my loving you meant only heartaches. Your kiss was such a sacred thing to me. I can't believe it's just a burning memory. Heartaches, heartaches, what does it matter how my heart breaks? I should be happy with someone new, but my heart aches for you.
Lefty Frizzell was born in Texas, and like many of his contemporaries, checks all the boxes of being a honky-tonk pioneer. He grew up in the era where his greatest influence was Jimmie Rodgers. Like his peers, Hank Thompson, Hank Snow, Hank Williams, and good old Ernest Tubb, Lefty grew up poor, had a rough and tumble adolescence, and only reached personal salvation due to his love of music. At age 12, he was playing guitar and writing songs. Like many other country musicians, he had a spot on a radio station, but unlike many others, he earned this spot even before he became a teenager. At 16, he was leading his own band and playing local honky-tonks. Now, like many of us, as a teenager in Texas, music, booze, and sex were the main things on Lefty's mind. At age 17, he rushed into a marriage, but a little more than a year later, an underage girl complained about him to her parents, and he ended up behind bars in Roswell, New Mexico. The only bright side, he took the time to write "I Love You 1,000 Ways" to his young and grieving wife. That jail stint got him to focus on his music, and he started recording in Dallas in 1950. He signed with Columbia Records. Amazingly, by 1951, he had 7 of the top 30 hits of the year. Lefty was just 23 years old, and then he started touring with Hank Williams. They were both on a merry-go-round of one-nighters and enjoyed plenty of partying and popularity.
We have a very special guest visiting us today, a fellow who travels all over the country, making personal appearances, and he's no stranger to our show. He's been here before. So let's get together and make him welcome. Lefty Frizzell. How about it? Lefty?
Hello, hello. Well, it's a pleasure.
Thank you, sir. It's good to have you here with us, man.
You know what, it was just on the drive out here, you know, to do the show, I was just thinking it's been almost 2 years when I first moved to Nashville, whenever I was on your show, you know, when I first got here.
Yes, sir.
And I think I'm about 10 pounds lighter. See? And I was just thinking that's 5 pounds a year. You know,
well, that's a pretty
would you
good.
like to know what kind of a diet?
We're awful glad to have you back, and the reason it's been so long, of course, is you travel all over the country. We're delighted to have you here, and you have a right new song out for the Columbia folks. How about giving us a preview of it, would you?
I made a mistake.
Did you?
I forgot to put the words over there. It's real early, you know. She said if I ever deceived her, she'd be gone before I could count 10. I guess that I didn't believe her, 'cause look at the trouble I'm in. She's gone, 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 gone. Crying won't bring her back. The more that I cry, the faster that train flies farther on down the track. I've lost every right to be happy. When I lost the heaven I found, she warned me she'd leave, and she left me before my first tear hit the ground. She's gone, 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 gone. Crying won't bring her back. The more that I cry, the faster that train flies farther on down the track. If I only knew where to find her, I'd crawl there on my hands and knees. Each tick of the clock's a reminder she's 1 second farther from me. She's gone, 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 gone. Crying won't bring her back. The more that I cry, the faster that train flies farther on down the track.
As a recording artist, His most major successes came in a very brief 4-year period between 1950 and 54, when he scored 5 #1 country hits and a further top 10 entries. For a time, he was the main rival to Hank Williams on the charts. Frizzell made some bad management deals and got very little money out of his hits, like If You've Got the Money, I've Got the Time, I Love You 1,000 Ways, and Always Late with Your Kisses. In 1953, Lefty moved to LA and got a regular gig on the famous Town Hall Party show.
Of course, now I would like for everyone to kind of light up. And Jimmy on the piano for liable to kick me off here. I guess I'll take a walk tonight. I know that I can't sleep, and I won't go to bed at all. I just lay there and weep. Instead, I'll make our favorite spot. That's what I think I'll do. I got to smoking cigarettes, drinking coffee blue. Smoking cigarettes and drinking coffee all night long. Wondering how a love so right could suddenly go wrong. I catch the next bus out of town, but I gotta be near you. I got those smoking cigarettes and drinking coffee blue. That's right. Sitting at the table where I call my baby's name, wondering where I've been loving wrong, wondering who's to blame. Listening while the jukebox play the songs that make me blue. Another cup of coffee and a cigarette too. Smoking cigarettes and drinking coffee all night long. Wondering how a love so right could suddenly go wrong. There's a lot of other people know the misery I go through. I got those drinking cigarettes, smoking coffee blues.
After a few years on TV, he burned out on his music career, and the hits stopped coming. When the Town Hall Party closed in 1960, Lefty headed back to Nashville. Columbia was not recording his prolific songwriting, so he left a ton of songs unrecorded. One that did hit the charts was Long Black Veil in 1959. His one big hit in that period was Saginaw, Michigan in 1964.
Of course, here's one not too many years ago, was a great record called Saginaw, Michigan. Do it for us, Lefty.
I was born in Saginaw, Michigan. I grew up in a house in Saginaw Bay. My dad was a poor, a hard-working Saginaw fisherman. Too many times he came home with too little pay. I love the girl in Saginaw, Michigan, the daughter of a wealthy, wealthy man. But he called me that son of a Saginaw fisherman, and not good enough to claim his daughter's hand. So now I'm up here in Alaska, looking around for gold. Like a crazy fool, I'm a-digging in this frozen ground so cold. But with each new day, I pray I'll strike it rich, and then I'll go back home and claim my love in Saginaw, Michigan.
During the 60s and 70s, Lefty was partly responsible for keeping that real honky-tonk sound alive in an era when Nashville was almost entirely pop crossovers. Since his performing style was formed at a young age in the dance halls of Texas, he was not about to change it. However, he did regain the enthusiasm to record some new albums, as well as play concerts and do TV shows. And he continued playing until the age of 47, when he died of a stroke in 1975. Frizzell undoubtedly influenced generations of singers and songwriters, especially Merle Haggard, Keith Whitley, and George Jones. But his success while alive never reached the proportions of his popularity since his death. Lefty was inducted into the Country Music Hall of Fame in 1982, and today, honky-tonk musicians all over the world credit Lefty as being their most positive influence.
If you got the money, I've got the time. We'll go honky-tonkin' and we're gonna have a time. We'll make all the night spots, dance to the music fine. If you got the money, honey, I got the time. Well, ain't no use to tarry, so let's start out tonight. We'll split joy, boy, oh boy, and we'll split it right. We'll have more fun, baby, all the way down the line. If you got the money, honey, I've got the time. If you got the money, I've got the time. We'll go honky-tonkin' and we're gonna have a time. Bring along your Cadillac, leave more wrecks behind. If you got the money, honey, I got the time. We'll go honky-tonkin', make every club in town. We'll go to the park for a start. We won't fool around. But if you run short of money, I'll run short of time. 'Cause you with no more money, honey, I've no more time. Well,
Nashville guitarist Kris Casello is one of the most dynamic and entertaining guitarists in the world of roots music today. He takes his influences from Les Paul, Chuck Berry, and Link Wray. He multitasks with guitar, steel, and vocals in a high-energy swing and rockabilly rhythm and blues explosion. He was named Ameripolitan Musician of the Year and is currently recording and touring with R&B diva Miss Tammy Savoy and the Kris Casello combo. Here is Tennessean Kris Casello.
Hi everybody, it's your pal Kris Casello coming at you from Nashville, Tennessee. I'm here to talk about a couple of my honky tonk heroes. Instead of picking a singer or a troubadour or songwriter or rebel, I'm going to pick my two favorite musicians probably of all time. They're certainly up there. I'm talking about Jimmy Bryant and Speedy West, often classified together because they made such amazing records. Particularly some of the first, if not first, country instrumental records, steel guitar and electric Telecaster, which Jimmy Bryant was one of the first, if not the first, real hero endorsed on that instrument by Leo Fender back in the early 50s. And Jimmy Bryant went on to have an illustrious career in California, producing all kinds of artists, playing dozens and dozens of singles and instrumental stuff. Later getting into rock and roll. Even played on the West Side Story soundtrack. He even wrote The Old Daddy That Walked the Line, Waylon Jennings' hit. His career started at the age of 13 when he was a fiddle player for Hank Williams before being wounded in World War II and hearing Django Reinhardt and then picking up the electric guitar. I think that there were people that were taking the fiddle licks and putting them on a guitar, like Joe Mavis and even Roy Clark. It seemed like all these guys, Chet Atkins, all played fiddle, but it was Jimmy Bryant, in my opinion, that really brought the jazz. After hearing Django and Les Paul and those guys, he brought the jazz and mixed it in there. And just an exciting guitarist, playing at speeds unbelievable. And when he got together with Speedy West from Springfield, Missouri, you had some of the most joyous and infectious country instrumentals I've ever heard. Now, they got together with Cliffy Stone's band. They backed up all kinds of people, jazz and country world and pop world. But it's those instrumentals that blew my mind. It blew many other musicians' minds over the years. So Speedy had that, I call him like the atomic pedal steel player. He played with 4 pedals, but doesn't sound like anybody else. That the way he bounced the bar and did his boo-ahs with his volume knob, and it's just unmatched and unparalleled to this day. And put the two of them together, and you've got some atomic country jazz like you've never heard. So I picked them as my Honky Tonk Heroes. I just hope like hell, and have been aspiring to play a quarter, a tenth as good as either one of those gentlemen. And I hope if you haven't heard of them that you'll discover them. And I think that this audience probably already knows who I'm talking about. Anyway, a shout out to Deke Dickerson, who owns and restored the famous Bigsby pedal steel that belonged to Speedy. And I hope you enjoy it, and thanks a lot for tuning in. And thank you, Chris B., for all that you do out there in the land of sun and fun.
Why don't we take a break and get some more music? We've got Mitch Polzak coming up here, and we'll let Kris take it away.
And for our finale today, Mitch Polzak and the Royal Deuces were founded in California in 1999. They've been entertaining audiences worldwide with their highly original sound since then. Polzak's high-energy three-piece ensemble performs rockabilly from the late 50s, Sun Records era, as well as guitar instrumentals from influences like Joe Maphis, Merle Travis, and Chet Atkins. He has a wide range of Bakersfield honky-tonk and truck driving music, and also adds the 5-string banjo to his shows, bringing in the influence of Earl Scruggs and Ralph Stanley. Ladies and gentlemen, the world-renowned Mitch Polzak.
Hello, friends. My name is Mitch Polzak, and I am so delighted to be here on Eclectic American Roots with Christopher Burkhardt. I love this series and honored to be a part of it, to get to share with you one of my honky tonk heroes. The man I'm talking about was an entertainer, was a vocalist, he was a guitar player, he was a banjo player, he was a fiddle player, and an all-around really good guy. And the person I'm talking about is Mr. Roy Clark. I first heard Roy Clark when I was 16 years old on this record here, Roy Clark Live. I heard a man who was a band leader. I heard a shredding guitar player, making people laugh, playing guitar, playing banjo, playing fiddle. And it was just so cool. And I thought, man, I kind of want to do that too. So I started studying banjo, started studying guitar, started working on mandolin instead of fiddle. But, you know, we got to go with what suits us. And being an entertainer. I've been an entertainer for 22 years. Started my band Mitch Polzak and the Royal Deuces in 1999, and it's still going strong. And I'm very grateful for that. Roy Clark appeared also a lot on TV shows. You know him from Hee Haw. He even made an appearance on The Odd Couple, where he does a version of the Malagueña on acoustic guitar that will melt your face and blow your mind. And he's just so cool about it. He's just tearing it up. Like, whoa! So definitely check out Roy Clark. He's amazing. He backed up Wanda Jackson in the early 60s, Hank Penny. And he, as an accomplished player, he knew when to play, he knew when to back up. The man really listened. And of course, his comedic delivery and timing was impeccable. So funny. I'll listen to this record many years later, decades later, and still crack up. So one of the songs that Roy Clark would always do, not always, but it was a standard of his, was the Alabama Jubilee. And that has become standard for me with my band, Mitch Polzak and the Royal Deuces. But we wanted to go ahead and give you this version here on the Polzak Ponderosa. So I figured I'd do a solo performance for you. So I'm going to go ahead and pick Alabama Jubilee right now. And as with any artist I never want to copy, I just want to do tribute. So I've Polzakarized the intro to this a little bit. So I hope you enjoy my rendition of Alabama Jubilee, inspired by one of my honky tonk heroes, Mr. Roy Clark.
Parson Brown dancing around like a clown. Your crazy mama who's past 83 goes, yep, I'm full of pep, boys, check me out. Said one-legged Joe dancing around on his toe, threw away his crutch and yelled, boys, let her go. Saying, hail, hail, the gang's all here for the Alabama Jubilee.
around like a clown. My crazy mama who's past 83, yelling, hip, hip, I'm full of pep, boys, check out me, saying, one-legged Joe grew around on his toe, threw away his crutch, saying, boys, let it go. And hail, hail, the gang's all here, the Alabama Jubilee. Roy Clark was also one heck of a banjo player. He was also one heck of a fiddle player. And that's another thing that when I heard this album, I heard electric guitar, I heard banjo, and I heard fiddle. That was another really big revelation for me, was the combination at one show of electric guitar with an amplified band, but that you could also bring banjo out on that same stage. And that has always appealed to me because I love electric guitar, I love rock and roll, I love honky tonk, I love rockabilly, I love blues, I love it all. It's a good music. And I also love to be able to bring out a banjo and have it be on the same show. And when I heard Roy Clark do that, that was like a big aha moment saying, you can do this, you can mix and still be true to the music, which was a really, really big thing, meaning I didn't have to isolate the two anymore. I could combine them in my own show. And I got a lot of inspiration from Roy Clark for that. So I'm going to go ahead and play banjo now for you. It's a standard. Roy Clark on this album played Foggy Mountain Breakdown. I'm going to do another standard called the Clinch Mountain Backstep, written by the great Ralph Stanley. Now Roy would also play fiddle on the same show as he would play banjo and play electric guitar. So what I'd like to do for you now, as another tribute to Roy Clark, since he's a multi-instrumentalist, is go ahead and start this on the banjo and then finish it up on the mandolin. I hope you enjoy this, friends. I love it every time I play it. And as Roy Clark would say, I hope you get out of it just a little bit of what I do. So here we go, friends. The Clinch Mountain Backstep, written by the great Dr. Ralph Stanley. circle, be able to pick it on all three instruments. Roy Clark tradition. So friends, this has been a real pleasure and a real honor to get to share with you one of my honky tonk heroes, Mr. Roy Clark, on Eclectic American Roots with Christopher Burkhardt. Thank you so much for including the invitation to do this music with you. I hope you enjoy this. I can't wait to see what else comes next as we celebrate incredible American music. Again, my name is Mitch Polzak. I look forward to seeing you online and in person in the future where we can all get together, get the good times going with good music, good people, and good friends, all in the jerk-free zone. Keep on rocking, you guys. I'll see you later on. Bye-bye.
Thank you for being here. Thanks for joining on the Eclectic American Roots Honky Tonk Heroes Volume 6. And until next time, friends, be kind, keep it country.
And that's our show, Honky Tonk Heroes Volume 6. See dozens of our Eclectic American Roots episodes archived on YouTube on our own channel, StellarJAX. See everything in the roots music world, from rockabilly to doo-wop and western swing to blues, with hundreds of roots artists featured. You can help support those musicians by making a simple donation to the cause at StellarJAX.com. On Venmo, go to Jack's Hideaway. See you next Sunday at noon Pacific on Christopher Burkhardt's, that's me, Eclectic American Roots.